All right, guys, we're back, and Collecticon tour review tutorial. Last time I left you guys, what I had done is just a little bit of the texture painting there for some of that corrosive concrete look there on the structure. Something a little new here is I actually flocked this thing. That's what that's called, is flocking. So I flocked it, and it sounds funny, doesn't it? And I should have showed you guys how I was doing that, but I just kind of got into a rhythm, and I did that. So I am going to cover a little bit of flocking techniques real shortly in this video. So I was thinking about, I'm kind of just doing this thing, improv, as I go along. There's no set method. You can develop your own rhythm. So what I have here is flock, and this is green. This is kind of like a algae green. Now, what's interesting about this, you're probably wondering, well, Tony, where do I buy that stuff? Actually, you can buy it from me. I make it right here at Collecticon Studios, and you have seen it in some of my terrain setups or some of my scenery. Well, I'll use it a lot of times as like a grass effect, or I'll use it as a moss that you can put in crevices here. That's what we'll be doing in this video. Before we actually paint this, we're going to put some flock in there and some moss. The reason being, sometimes I like to work backwards and see what that's going to look like before I pick a color to highlight this and bring it out. So we're going to do that real quick. But from the first video, we'll see that this thing is completely dry brushed for front and back for the raised gravel look. So that turned out rather nice. See if we can get that in there. Let me try and get some more light for you guys. There we go. So now you can see that it turned out really nice. So if you practice that technique against a textured structure, you will get that effect there, or maybe perhaps even something better. So bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to get that for you real quick. There you go. All right. Now we're going to move the camera back here and rest it here while we talk about flocking techniques right now, and that's the flock. Now, for a bag about this size, if you buy it from Collecticon, it's a gallon bag, half gallon. A flock will run you $15 and about $1.99, $2 for shipping and handling. So a round trip of $17 will get you a half gallon of flock and not the other stuff that you probably think it is. Don't use that. That's expensive. This is what you want, and this is going to bring out your display. If you're doing something like this, you wouldn't use this for every display, but for something like this, normally in an old temple ruin, if you travel around the world, you'll find that there's moss, in the Urals and stuff growing in the crevices of buildings or structures like this. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to take, and what I did here, guys, first of all, is I have this Elmer's glue, right, glue all. Now, I took and poured some of this out and used it for something else, another recipe that I'll show you guys in another video to make another material, but this is half and half. So this is half of the glue all, half water. And as you can see a little bit in there, it's rather liquefied, so it's not in its most pure state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that, and I'm going to pour it into that cup there, and I'm going to use that to apply my flock. So while you guys are sitting there listening to some Pantera, love Pantera, I am going to get this glued lid off, pour a little bit. You don't need a whole lot, Stuff goes a long way. So now that I got that liquefied glue in there, and you stir it up, shake it up, whatever you want to do just to get it all mixed together, I'm going to apply that, a little bit of that, using a brush that I don't really care about. That would be this guy here. He's been nominated, to the crevice. So I'm going to take that real quick and get some of that glue on there. And you're going to see I'm going to go right in there, right in the crevice, just like that, with the glue. All right? So get a nice liberal amount. You don't worry about messing up. That stuff's going to dry pretty clear. and you can paint over it and everything. We'll get a little bit of that, put it there. We'll do one crevice at a time. We'll pinch from our bag of goodies here, which is the flock made at Collecticon Studios. There. Now, you can get this stuff from Woodland Scenics, and they have different grades of it, some better, some not as good, but it's going to be expensive. You know, for about a corner right here of this stuff, you are going to pay about $8 to $10. So it would behoove you to buy it from them. I'm not trying to badmouth Woodland Scenics, because actually that's what I started out using when I was doing scenery back in the day in my collection when I was a little younger, but it gets real expensive now that I have a daughter and responsibilities and, you know, girlfriend, house, that kind of stuff. You can't, you know, pay $8, $10 a corner for that stuff. So, enough ranting about my personal stuff. That's what you're going to do. Now, I know what you're saying. That looks a little messier than what you normally have in your videos. What I'll do is I'll go back and I'll press some of that up. And I'll actually go, I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to move the camera too much, but I'll actually go back after this. I think this is dry, and I'll go and kind of shake that off outside or something just to get all that extra off, or you can take a little broom, the whisk broom, and brush it off the extras, or you can leave it, you know, and have the effect that there's more moss growing off of it. But for us here at Collecticon, we'll like a little neater. That, you know, it's only growing in the damp areas here, that effect, so we're going to go and brush it off later. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on this side, flocking it. We're going to do it on this crevice as well. Now, not to make it look too uniform, because in nature, nothing's perfect, we're not going to flock that whole thing. We're actually going to do just a small section, and we're going to bring a little bit of it off just to give it a more realistic look. So realism is what you want to generally go for, and maybe I have a little indentation that I put there, so we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to take a little bit of our flock. We're going to put it in there just like so, and we'll get a desired, hopefully, effect of something very random, and I think we just accomplished that. We won't be able to tell until much later, after this dries, and we can shake some of it off, but you see how it's kind of creeping down there, so it kind of looks like this moss is growing down a little bit. There, you got moss all along here, and then the moss on this side kind of just stops there. So that's another technique for you guys in this whole display building process. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like what you see, come back and check us out for the next one, where we're going to actually apply, this time, the finishing touches of coat on this to give it a more realistic look and make it look like it's actually been there for a long time and it's got some age on it. So until next time, keep collecting and hopefully start painting, start building. See you later.